Good morning. You're on Ottawa Designers. We're here round two. We had a few technical difficulties with the first show. We're here with Beth, who's a spiritual healer and an energy medicine worker. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on your
Good.
show.
Better to hear me this time?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Excellent. So Beth is a very talented lady. She's a musician. She's a weapons expert. She's the above. Could you give us a bit of a background on you?
Absolutely. So I come from a musical family. So both my parents are classical musicians. I grew up in that environment of the arts and myself embarked on the studies and career to be a professional cellist. And I did that for a number of years. But then as life would have it, things directed me in a different course, brought me back to Ottawa from New York City, and basically brought me onto the path of spiritual healing and energy medicine work and my passions as they are today in being a healer and helping other people
That's
heal
incredible.
themselves. Yeah.
Would you explain what spiritual healing is?
Absolutely. Spiritual healing is the ability to work with people's spirits. And what that means is we all have belief systems that we don't even realize quite literally govern everything we think, feel, and do. We have soul contracts, covenants with ourselves, agreements that we make that often limit us and our abilities to move past certain things, that also limit our abilities to create the life that we want, to be the people that we want. And we often develop those because of our experiences, which are varied, whether you believe in past lifetimes or not. But there's many, many, many experiences that influence who we are. And so a spiritual healer is able to access all of those aspects. We're able to go and see things that you're not able to see. We're able to know things that you don't know, and we're able to heal things that most people can't access or heal.
I love that. That sounds so fascinating. And I have worked with Reiki masters, and it's shocking what they can feel just through tapping in a different way of studying this. Could you explain what energy medicine work is?
Absolutely. Energy medicine work is working with our energetic bodies, our emotional bodies, our mental bodies, and then the spiritual body. So everyone, you often hear the phrase, everything is energy. And while that is true, quite literally, we are surrounded by energy. Our thoughts create energy. Everything is energy. How things are created are much more in depth than that. There's a spectrum of creation, and energy is almost the last frontier before things are created into matter, into form. So an energy medicine worker is somebody who's going to be able to get beyond the energy, get into the vibrations, the frequencies, the rates, and into essentially the void where literally everything is created. So we're able to work on many different levels and areas of a person.
That's incredible. Why did you choose to get into this field?
I chose to get into this field through necessity. As I mentioned, I am a trained classical cellist, and that's what I was doing professionally for quite a long time. But then, as circumstances would have it, I came back to Ottawa, single mother of 2 boys, full time, and I wasn't well because of my experiences. And things kind of shaped me in a way that I started making not so healthy decisions for myself, not for any other reasons other than I didn't know. All I knew is what I knew, right? And I did seek the help of many, traditional therapies and things, and that's not to discount them in any way, but they weren't enough for me to truly feel better, to be better, to remember who I actually was beyond all of my experiences. And so after attempting to do different various therapies and trying medicines and things like that, I got to a point where it was quite literally do or die. Something had to change. And at that point, I was brought to the, or I guess I became aware of a local Algonquin shaman who taught or teaches classes and offers sessions through the eighth fire. And for whatever reasons, I was called to begin studying with him, even though at the time probably could have labeled me as agnostic. So I didn't believe in anything, but I also didn't not believe, right? But I did have quite a distrust of God, we'll say, or whatever was out there. Yeah. So I started with a lot of trepidation and doubt, but it was through experiencing the significant changes that it brought to me in working on myself, and brought to my family and everyone around me as well, that I started to see and know different, that, and believe, more importantly, that there was another way to feel, to be. So that's kind of how I came to it for myself. But then I continued studying for 8 years and diving deeper and deeper into it.
I think that's so important because we're all such different. We're similar, but we're all so different. And one way isn't the right way for everybody. And
Mhm.
there's so many different modalities that can complement regular medicine versus natural medicine or spiritual healing or whatever. And finding a combination is usually the best way to find a way out of the problem that you're in. And like I mentioned, we're all different. What are the different modalities that you provide?
Uh, well, it's kind of all under the umbrella of the spiritual healer and the energy medicine worker, but I'm trained in shamanism. I'm trained in energy medicine work. I'm trained in quantum shamanic Reiki. I teach it. I'm a TA for the eighth fire in some of their courses. Um, and I'm also a trained yoga instructor, although I don't actually teach that. Um, so yeah, it's kind of a mishmash of, it's like with music, you can train in certain modality of music, but you can play many different styles of music, and they
And
all
why,
create this harmony.
yeah, and why is weapons training also a part of this? How does
Mm,
that increase your self value, self worth, strength? Can you explain that?
absolutely. Um, Quite simply because it accesses the subconscious parts of our mind that help remind us of our own capacities, help ignite that desire to believe in ourselves, to fight for ourselves, to want to prevail, to access the courage we need to face our fears and to face the limiting aspects within ourselves, to face that enemy that really is us. So when we mix, any type of healing modality and healing work with martial arts, the healing arts, martial arts, like all of those art forms that bring us back to uh, believing in ourselves, feeling empowered. And then when we're able to have that for ourselves, we no longer want to take it from others because we're confident. We don't react. We're able to examine our actions and our reactions, and um, we don't need to consume power from other areas. We don't need um, to abuse ourselves anymore because it no longer, that desire doesn't even exist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And why is it so important for people to acknowledge their past wounds, heal from those past wounds in order to move forward?
That's a great question. Um, I've worked with a number of people who, with all the greatest intentions, again, we only know what we know until we know otherwise. And oftentimes people will talk about light workers and working in the light, and we want to stay up in the ascended masters and yada, yada, yada. And that's wonderful. But we're human. And there's a great darkness that encompasses us all and that we need to go into in order to come out, right? And if we don't acknowledge that, like I would say I'm more of a dark worker than a light worker, because I guide people into those darker parts where most people are afraid to go because we feel guilty, we feel ashamed, we feel afraid, we don't believe that we're worthy of forgiveness and compassion and grace and all these things that people talk about. But what does that actually look like in actioning, right? Towards ourselves, and then from extension towards others. So without acknowledging the fact that we have those emotions and that we've been through these things and that we need to come to the healing forgiveness and all of these wonderful altruistic things that people talk about but often can't do, you're basically just like, I use the analogy of, you're walking around the cave. We're analyzing the cave. We're talking about what's inside the cave. Oh, the dragon's in the cave and he's hoarding all of the knowledge and the gold. And, oh, if I was in the cave, I would do this. And, oh, I could do that. And why is the dragon in the cave? And dot, 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 dot. Instead of just mustering up the courage to go into the cave, to face what's there, to acknowledge it, to get rid of it, and then come out triumphant, yada, yada, yada. So
why is it so important to you to help others?
Because I think, well, that is the medicine of the world, right? When we can get to a place within ourselves where we've acknowledged our own humanity and our own woundedness and our own path and journey that we've been on that often isn't very pretty, then we have more compassion for others, and we can understand the importance of and the suffering around us that's truly happening, and the answer to, really the simplistic answer to the world's issues. Not to say that we're ever going to get to any form of world peace, but if we can get to that within ourselves, then we can start to create that peace around us, and then that extends and extends and extends. So while I cannot help and save everyone by starting with one person, because we're all connected interconnectedly, energetically, consciously, that's everything. It's everything.
And you actually nailed it right there, because when we help one person, we're actually helping that person help other people, and we're helping other people in their lives by healing that person. And sometimes just doing that for someone else will get you out of a funk as well. Or, it's a really big cycle that you don't know how many people you're touching by helping heal one person. And that's what I mentioned to people is try small, and you don't see what your impact on life is by just doing the small step, a smile to someone, listening a little bit more, being humble, not judging as much. Things like that make a huge difference. You have an Adirondack getaway that you go every year, and I think it's fabulous. Could you tell the viewers about that?
Absolutely. I just actually booked our campsite for this summer, and it's an opportunity to take. We open it up to women, and it's an opportunity for people to camp. Tent camping, so it's not glamping.
Oh no.
I love glamping too.
I grew up in the Adirondacks. You'd think that I'd love this tent thing, but I like the glamping, but I made you.
I do too. I grew up backpacking.
I love the Adirondacks.
Yeah, I grew up backpacking in the Adirondacks with my dad, and it's an opportunity to get into the woods, into nature, but more importantly, to the mountain is the metaphor for climbing up and persevering and feeling empowered and believing in ourselves and conquering our fears and getting to the summit of our dreams and all of that, and then realizing, oh, we have to get back down as well. So it really, we can talk about what healing is. We can talk about empowering. We can post wonderful memes. We can read self-help books. But until you're actually in that space, that's where alchemy happens. That's where it starts to transform and you start to feel it. And from that will then expand into other areas of our lives. So we camp. My friend Kelly Crow, she and I provide everything, all the supplies, all the food. And then we do one hike, if not two. We go out for dinner at a really amazing restaurant in a mountain tavern. There's a special waterfall that you wouldn't know it's there until you know it's there. We go there, we spend some time. So it's really this amazing bonding experience, but empowering mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually.
And when is it in the summer?
This summer, we have it August 16th to the 19th.
16th and 19th. And it's in Lake Placid, correct?
Yeah, just outside of Lake Placid and High Peaks. Yeah.
Amazing. So you also have a yurt experience or something like that. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, I haven't offered it for a while, but I like to hold circles, so healing circles for people. And what that is it's an opportunity to come together, you know, as a circle where we share experiences based on a certain topic that we're going to be discussing or exploring, and then I'll guide everybody in a shamanic journey based on whatever it is the theme that we're working on.
That's amazing. So do you have any other upcoming classes, events that you would like to share with us?
Not at this time. Right now, I'm kind of working. I've got a lot of fires in my life going, burning brightly and percolating.
Yeah.
So I'm really investing most of my energy on that. I work one-on-one with clients. Because of the way I like to work with people, I only work with a small amount of people at one time. So I am accepting a few clients at this time. And that really, I'm extremely passionate about that. So I'd say if people feel called to work with me, one-on-one would be the best way at this time. And then things might open up with the yurts and in other workshops that I'll be leading in the time to come.
So how can we get a hold of you? Social media, email, website? Go ahead.
Absolutely. My website is my full name, BETHSTURDEVANT.com. People can get a hold of me through my website, through email, info@BETHSTURDEVANT.com. I am on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, not very active. I'm not a huge social media person. So best way to probably through Facebook or through my email.
Excellent. Do you have a phone number that you want to give, or is it best through
through email? Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I think this was extremely enlightening and informative. And there's a lot of people that are looking for something more than just being on a waiting list, having medical treatment or antidepressant medication. And I think the combination of, you know, these different modalities, some fitness, some good nutrition, friendship, bonds of relationships, and then if you need to, proper different medicine, things like that, you will find a way out of whatever it is that you're going. And sometimes you're not in something. Some things you just feel great and you want to feel better and you want to learn more. And these are wonderful things to take into account and to check out Beth and contact her on Facebook or email. Thank you so much, Beth.
Thank you, Sandria.
Have a great day.